Good evening, campers, dreamers, and babysitters, and welcome to my raw reaction review of Till Death Do Us Part. Wedding bells are ringing, and love is in the air, but our bride-to-be gets cold feet and leaves our groom at the altar. As she makes a getaway, she finds refuge at her family home as she prepares for her life as a single woman. Her solo honeymoon is cut short when 7 deadly groomsmen show up at her doorstep, dressed to the nines and ready to kill. Our well-dressed men get more than they bargained for when they RSVP to this party. They find out our bridezilla doesn't need a wedding caterer to serve up an appetizer of pain and an entree of death in this blood-soaked, ruthless romance tale. And yes, we did have a chance to check out a screener for Till Death Do Us Part. I believe this one will be hitting a theater maybe near you. I don't know if this is a wide release or not, but I gotta say, this one is an intriguing tale, to say the least. This popped up on my radar a few months ago when the trailer hit online, and it is an action-packed trailer. A unique twist, if you will, on the kind of a romance. A little bit of comedy in there, a lot of action, and some gore for us horror fans. This is directed by Timothy Woodward Jr. A lot of horror fans may know him from The Final Wish as well as The Call. Those came out just a few years ago. Those ones, if you haven't checked them out, I do recommend both those films. But diving into Till Death Do Us Part, I gotta say, this one really hangs its hat on melding of genres, I believe, and, with that romance tale, as well as, that gory kind of action, I would say, a little more than just normal action. This one kind of seems like it would be for a John Wick fan, or even if you had seen Sisu earlier in the year. It's kind of geared toward those fans. And I gotta say, this one is definitely a unique take on this kind of romance as well as action. But I think it's something that really does keep your attention. Going into the film, the opening up of this, I gotta say, visually, it is very well put together. We really open up with this jovial tone, just in paradise, almost. And it's this kind of juxtaposition of the different tones of the film. And we're really in this kind of paradise setting. It's daylight, and we're kind of getting a feel of what this relationship's like. And then we do cut to a little bit darker tone. It's actually nighttime, and our bride, played by Natalie Byrne, is showing up at her family home. And we only get tidbits of the actual relationship between all the characters and how this is all intertwined and how they're all melding together. I think this one is something that wants to give you those tidbits to kind of keep the audience intrigued and not really knowing the relationship. But for me, I think one of the cons was being able to watch this, and probably about 30 minutes in, I would say, I kind of started figuring out, piecing together everything. So when we do kind of unveil everything, I think maybe as an audience member, you'll already be there by the time they decide to show their hand. But I don't think that takes you out of the film at all. It's just one of those things where I don't think you can escape it with the relationships and what is going down throughout the film. They kind of have to give you those little grains, and I think you might be able to put it together before it's all unveiled. But again, it doesn't take you out. I think performance-wise here, Natalie Byrne does a great job. As these types of films are usually vehicles for a male lead. I think we're used to those kind of John Wick kinds of films. But this one, I think, again, an intriguing genre twist. And she does a great job at, keeping that pace up and, showing her hand at these fight scenes, which I think also do keep you intrigued. For me, I got to say, one of the standouts performance-wise was Cam Gigande. You may know him if you Violent Nights late last year. Guy is just amazing in his performances. Always brings that demented, sadistic kind of comedy. Got a lot of charisma, and it's no different here. I think he really facilitates a lot of the scenes and is that driving force of kind of, he does play the best man, and I love that he is absolutely obsessed with being the best man. He kind of keeps going back to his best man speech throughout this film, and it again gives you that levity, a little bit of crazy comedy in what is actually going down. But every performance that he does, he does have this wild charisma about him. I'm really curious to see him if he can get into a full-fledged horror film, what kind of charisma he can bring, because he was one of the shining lights here. This film does have a lot of flashbacks. It really does lean heavy on those flashbacks, and it's this kind of juxtaposition of paradise versus the reality of what is happening now. And we do have that this very brightly lit. It's daytime. They're on a boat, and we're establishing the relationship between the bride and the groom, and what is actually going on. And then we cut to current time, and it's night, and I think that's really well done, because visually on both ends, I think it's very well done. Where we have the paradise, I think that one is perfect. And then when we go into the darker setting, they really find excuses to light the scenes. And I think visually, if you've seen something like The Call from Timothy Woodward Jr., it really in line with that as well. But, I think one of the cons here is when you're dealing with those fight scenes, and no matter how well you try to light those night scenes, sometimes they do come out a little bit darker. And I think when you deal with those darker scenes like that at nighttime, I think sometimes it is so low light that you can't tell what's going on in those fight scenes. There's only a few that are in outside in the dark, but I think they takes you out a little bit because you can't see 100% of what's going on. But for the rest of the fight scenes, they find good excuses to, whether it's indoors or to be near a light or some sort of lighting throughout. So, I think there's a couple of cons with it being low light, but I did see this on a television. I'm curious to see what it looks like on the big screen as well. But, it doesn't take you out of the film. It's just kind of one of those things where you kind of have to lean in. It's a little bit of a struggle to see exactly what is going on. And then, another con that I do have is leaning on those flashbacks. When you're going into a film like this, maybe expecting some sort of Sisu or John Wick style, where it's just a nonstop thrill ride where you're continuously going from one fight to the next. This one, going back to those flashbacks, sometimes it does tend to linger a little bit, and maybe I know they're trying to build tension, but sometimes it lingers a little longer than I believe it should, and maybe overstays its welcome to a certain extent, and kind of deflates the tension that they are building and that kind of nonstop thrill ride that you want. But then when they get back into it, it does make it worth it. I think a lot of the fight scenes here are really well done. There's a lot of great gore, something involving a chainsaw for you gore hounds out there, which I think is a lot of fun. I think that scene alone will stick with you. But, overall, I think this film is definitely worth the price of admission. Like I said, I believe this is hitting theaters. I don't know if it's going to be a wide release, but if it is something that is playing near you, I do think it will be a fun night at the theater. A little bit for everybody. It's got that romance, it's got the comedy, it's got the action, of course, for us horror fans. It's got some gore in there as well. So if this is playing at a theater near you, I do recommend going out and checking this one out. You got to support these smaller films like that as well, that bring these intriguing takes that we don't see that often. So if I think this is going to be a recommendation from me to go see Till Death Do Us Part. But that wraps up for my review here on the channel. But if you haven't checked out our review of Talk to Me and haven't made that jump in the theater to go out and see it, we highly recommend that one. Go check out our review if you are on the fence about it. It is spoiler free. And then, of course, we do have our trailer for our short film SYCOPHANT that's going to be hitting the channel here in the near future, to be determined of when that will be up. But check out that trailer, show it a little love, give it a like, maybe share it around as well. And then, of course, Sunday Scaries. A lot of horror news talk. NECA released some wild-looking figures, so, of course, we had to spend some time on that. And a lot of stuff hitting the channel this coming week as well. Some new releases at the theater. And who knows what other horror news will be hitting us that we'll be talking about. So if you're not already subscribed and you found us here, please hit that subscribe button, give us a like, and stay tuned for what is next. But that wraps me up here. I'm Luke Janesco. Until next time, stay scared.